Hello, welcome. I'm Coach Sheree, and I'm honored to lead this discussion on dating as a single parent. Please come on in. Come on in. We'll give everybody a few minutes. I have a few panelists with me today, a few other coaches. So just come on in. We'll give y'all a few seconds to come in. So we'll go ahead and get started. Our panel today includes incredible single parents and single parent advocates who will share their personal journeys and perspectives. So each guest will have 5 to 7 minutes per question, and we'll conclude with final reflections from everyone. So I won't start by introducing myself, but I'll let one of the panelists introduce themselves and give you guys a little bit about their who they are, their business, and we'll save the contact information for the end. No particular order, y'all. Just kind of come out there.
I'll start. Hello, my name is Brandy. I am currently in the Say Life coaching program. I am earning my certification for ICF for life coaching. My niche, or I would say my preference in life coaching, would be self preservation and self love. I am recently separated. Um, I'm not dating currently, but I am here to show support and just to give my perspective on what it is like to think about dating in the future.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Next panelist.
My name is John Griggs. Um, as Brandy said, I'm also in the Say Life program, but I am a coach. I'm a licensed minister. I'm an author. I'm an entertainment manager. I manage artists and producers. Um, and as Coach Sheree said, I am an advocate. I personally am not a single parent, but being the brother of 8 women, because I do have 8 female siblings, um, I'm always in a space to where I feel like their protection and the protection of their children is something that matters to me.
Awesome, awesome. Next panelist.
I'm Coach Sherluda. I am a graduate of the second cohort of the Say Life Institute, and I've also received my ICF certification. I'm excited to be here. I am not a single parent, but I'm definitely an advocate, and I like talking about dating and love and all that good stuff and what I think about it. And so I'm excited to be here. So let's get into it.
Awesome, awesome. Next panelist.
Hi, my name is Tora Love, and I am an author and life coach, and I'm also the CEO of the Ahava Corporation, where I do books and business. I have been married, divorced, and I am a single parent. I have 3 boys, and I am currently dating, and it's going very well.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And last but not least.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Heather Carpenter. I am also a Safe Life, a current Safe Life, Say Life student, um, pursuing my life coaching certificate. My specialty is self awareness and self empowerment. I am a single mother of 4 adult children. I am not currently dating, but I did date during my time of being a single parent. So I believe I have some insight about some do's and some don'ts from my experience. So I'm here to share those with the audience.
Awesome, awesome. Well, my panelists to today's live. And so, for me, for those of you who don't know, I am a single parent of 3 children. I am the single parent life coach. I too am in the uh, Say Life coaching program to obtain my certification as a life coach. And we're here to talk about dating as a single parent. I do have an adult child and two teenagers. So life is very interesting, so to say the least. So we're going to go right ahead and dive into the questions. Our first question for tonight would be, we're going to start off talking about readiness and boundaries in dating. How do you know deep down that you're emotionally, spiritually, and mentally ready to open your heart to dating again? Anyone can take that, but I'll go last.
I'll start. I believe that you are ready spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically when you are ready to be vulnerable with that person or with anyone. When you're ready to embrace who you are and you know who you are and you're aware of yourself. You've done the work to heal and you're just really ready to get out there and you're putting God first and you're looking for a partner who is also putting God first. And I believe that's when you're ready to be vulnerable.
I would like to
Absolutely.
I would like to add that you know when you're ready when you have completely accepted yourself, good, bad, and different, all aspects of yourself. You're confident in who you are, and you're willing to be transparent and accept the other person the same way.
I'll piggyback on these two and say I feel you're ready when you're completely aware of yourself and not unsure of yourself. I feel like if you're unsure of yourself, you'll be unsure of the people that you're dating. So knowing yourself, being comfortable with yourself, the goods, the bads, all of that is a good sign that you're ready to now at least entertain somebody else.
Absolutely. I do agree with every one of your answers. Anyone else want to share? So for me, I believe that yes, through prayer, I do believe that too. I also know that I'll do like a self assessment of myself, to see where I'm at, to see where I've grown, to see where I may still need to do work. And then once I figure that part out, then that's when I say, okay, am I really ready? Am I ready to open myself up in all of those areas to share my world with someone? And so once I've done that and I know that I'm ready, so the best thing for me is to say, okay, you know what? Am I ready to be vulnerable? Am I ready to let someone in my world on those days where I'm not so happy or I'm not so godly? So for me, I have to really sit down, do a self assessment, and then that's when I know I'm ready. So sometimes I think we learn in our class about doing hard work. So that's real big for me. I have to do the hard work to make sure that I can be vulnerable and be a good listener and be understanding. So, yeah. What y'all think about that?
Definitely all of that in a nutshell.
Yes, absolutely agree with that.
Absolutely
Absolutely.
agree. That hard work is
Yep,
really,
I
really
agree.
important. Yeah, hard work is
Yeah, it
important.
is important because you also have to look at things like, what is this person's background? You know, where did they come from? Who are their influences? How did they grow up? Were they in a one parent household, single parent household? Were they in a two parent household? I came from a two parent household and, and dealt with, traumatic things such as divorce. Was told, get over it. That happened years ago. But yeah, it affected me in a different way. So it affected me in a way where I didn't know what healing was. I had to learn that. I didn't know what generational curses were or cycles. I had to learn those things. So I dated people that I attracted. Can anybody attest to that? I didn't know it, but
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Worst
Go ahead.
thing
I'm sorry. Go
ever.
ahead, Coach Tora. I think we all were like,
Absolutely.
yes. It's
Yes,
crazy because
absolutely. That's
even
the worst
though
thing
I'm
ever.
divorced, that is my sister-in-law was saying that today that we go through this cycle of dating the same person, dating what we're putting out because we haven't completely healed. And I went, she's absolutely right. But I'm gonna let
yeah,
Coach Tora go ahead because I know she got some gems to drop.
we know she got a lot of gems, a lot of nuggets.
Yes. Now that one I can definitely attest for. You attract who you are. Once you reach your higher self, you attract a whole lot better. And I can say that now because again, I have dated and pretty much been married at every stage of my life. I got married at 19, I got married at 24, I got married at 36. Now I'm in my 40s and I'm just now ready to do the work, to be vulnerable. But I had to go through those experiences first. But I do not like what I was attracting at all. So,
I was having recent conversations with one of my children, and we were talking about high vibrations and low vibrations. I think that's a terminology that Ayanla uses in her conversations. And literally, when you operate in low vibrations, those vibrations sends out waves, and that weight and those waves bring back that same energy. And so as you escalate and you elevate and you evolve, you do start to bring your waves start to bring in different energy. So to hear you share that, Coach Tora, about, okay, I was married when I was 19, I was married when I was 20, so on and so forth, and to even be able to break that down and see your own personal growth and what you were attracting, that's amazing, because some people do it one time and they're like, okay, I'll stop, I quit, I'm not doing this anymore, and not even willing to be courageous enough to take the step and step out of yourself and take a chance again. You're just like, killed it the first time, it's dead on my plate, I'm not going into that anymore, you know what I mean? And sometimes we don't grow when we are afraid to take a chance, because sometimes those situations that we find ourselves in, where we are in that moment, helps us get to that next level. It ends up becoming a mirror to us. Those situations, those relationships, those individuals end up becoming a mirror to really show us clearly where we're operating and what we don't want to settle for. So thanks for sharing your experience, Coach
I want
Tora.
to piggyback off both Coach Heather and Coach Toro. We're talking about our vibes and recognizing that some people are not, as Coach said, they're not ready to grow. They don't understand that they need to grow. My best friend, her mother is probably 81, and she is not the nicest person, and she keeps enmity in between the siblings, which I've never heard of a mother doing that. And she actually said out of her mouth that she liked the way she was and she was not going to change. And so some of us vibrate low because we don't realize that what we're doing and how we're moving through life is inhibiting us and is actually toxic and is actually hurting us. And so that's where that self-awareness comes in. I think people think that being self-awareness, taking care of yourself, is selfish, but it's not, because if you don't learn how to look inward and take care of yourself and do the work, then how can you be the best that you need to be, not only for yourself but for the people in your life? And so it's very important that you grow. Just talking about my sister-in-law, she was dating a young man who has been on his job for 25 years but won't become a supervisor. You don't want to grow. And so that's not the person that you need to be with, because if you're trying to go here, if you're passport ready and you're ready to go all the time, and this person doesn't even know what a passport is, and this person is clearly fine being there where they are and is getting upset with you because your career is taking off because that's what you want in your life, then that's not the person for you. Some people just don't want to grow, and that's something that we have to recognize about ourselves. And we need to look in the mirror and go, girl, you want to grow today? Do you want to get yourself together? Or you fine being like that? Next year this time, do you want to be where you are? Because you said that last year. Every year you say, I don't want to be in this place, but you ain't did nothing to change. Nothing changes if nothing changes. And so you have to be self-aware and recognize that, hey, my frequency may not be good. My spiritual life may not be good. I may not be praying enough. I may not be fasting enough. I may not be giving off what God has put into me to give off. My light may not be shining. And then it's shining, and we're getting people who may want to prey on you, not Prey, prey on you, because you're kind of between that high and that low, and you just can't get yourself over that hump. So I think that's very, very important that we all be ready to just be aware that getting to that high vibration so we can attract those people is very, very important. Like, this is a like-minded group of panelists, and I love this. And I love that we can all come together and we can, say the things that we've been thinking. And sometimes we can't always say these things to the people in our lives because they may not get it. And it's good to be in a space. And so that's what we want out of our dating life and our romantic life. And I think Coach Heather also said, I'm gonna shut up in a minute. I think Coach Heather also said something about being
No,
willing.
no, no. Keep talking. Keep talking.
About being willing to get out there. I was sitting here balling up my toes because I was like, ma'am, listen, I'm gonna need you to get out my business, get off my toes, because I ain't going back out there. But no, really, and it's because I'm just tired. Do I want love? I am a hope-filled romantic. I believe deeply in love. I believe that God ordained love, and He ordained us to be with someone. And I truly believe there is somebody for everybody. I don't know where He at. So, and I'm not going to look for him, because the Bible says a man that findeth a wife find a good thing. So I ain't supposed to be looking. However, I got to stop going in the house. I got to go stay out of Ross, Home Depot. You know what us our introvert,
That
you know what
that that part, Coach. That part, you cannot find them if you go online shopping all the time, and if you
okay,
go curbside
man.
grocery shopping.
How about
How is
get out my business,
how is the
please?
man going to
Get out my
find you?
business. Get out of my business. I'm going to Instacart. Where my phone? I'm going to Instacart right now. I stay online shopping. Do you hear me? I'm sorry, y'all, but that's just being
Me
real, and that's
too.
the purpose of this
Mhm.
panel. And
That is
I recognize that, and I even talked to my best friend. I'm like, girl, and she's so silly. She said, our and I hate when she says that. She says, but our better days are behind us, because we ain't got too much left, ma'am. Speak for yourself.
please
I'm
and
gonna live
thank
to be
you.
100. Okay, please and thank you. I'm gonna live to be 100, and we're gonna make this life the best that we can. And we're just gonna hope and pray that one day we're gonna stop doing Instacart. Maybe one day, and we're gonna stop just
Stop
going to
doing
Ross
curbside. Stop
and
doing
the
the
TJ Maxx.
curbside.
Stop curbside.
Stop doing Amazon shopping and everything else, because everything comes to the door, so you don't have to go out to do it.
Well,
Go
we hope that maybe the
visit.
UPS driver is the guy or something. I don't know.
Look. So let me just share this real quick, because I was at the grocery store last night and I was talking to Coach Sheree, and I was sitting in the car talking to Coach Sheree. And so a gentleman comes out and he gives me a full eye contact, and I'm looking and I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah, I got a hat on, my pajamas, like, but it was the engagement, and a 30-second engagement. And I was just like, you know, but the thing is, it could have been just as simple as rolling down my window and saying, hi, how are you? You know, I was out and about, but I am too. That introvert was like, oh, okay, all right, going about your business. Not making myself available, not even saying, hey, there's potential. There's potential, and is it because of the fear of failure? Like,
Could be.
once you've been in a situation where things didn't turn out the way you hope they turn out. I mean, Coach Tora, your situation is a testimony, and to be where you are now again, where you're like, I'm dating again, like you are. If I was to look up hopeless romantic and in a dictionary, and on top of the fact that your last name is Love, your picture would automatically pop up if I did a Google search. You know what I mean? Because you're saying no. I felt when I was in my teens. I felt when I was in my 20s. I felt when I was in my 30s. But guess what? I'm gonna keep doing it until I figure it out. So, we have these conversations now on this panel, and we're talking about what's the best way to approach um, dating as a single person. Well, what I can say is the best way to approach dating as a single parent is not to approach it at all. The unwillingness to even take a step out in faith, and the possibility to use what you've learned from past situations, and bring that into new situations and make better, healthier decisions that's in your best interest and the best interest of your children. I think that that's the worst thing to do, is to not try at all.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I also believe that even when you do learn things because sometimes we can learn what not to do, but then what do we do when we recognize it again in someone else? Because what you don't want to do is be disrespectful to that person just because, you go into something new, but you completely healed from that. You got to ask yourself, have I let this go? Because if let's just say, like, my ex was a truck driver. So if I meet somebody else and he's a truck driver, am I going to say, oh, no, not today? But sometimes it's just that simple, that it can have one thing that reminds you of that person, and it's like, oh, that's how I knew. That was an inkling from me. I was like, yeah, no, I don't want nobody that's driving a truck. Mm-mm. Nope, I don't want that same issue. So I knew for me, even something that simple was like, okay, you gotta get past that. You're not ready to get out there and they this shit. So did anybody else want to piggyback off the first question?
Nah, I feel everybody, did so well with answering the question. By the time I would have said anything, everybody said it. Like how Coach Rita said, it's a like-minded group. Um, it's a
Mhm.
really like-minded group. Oh, I lied. I do got something.
Yeah,
I
let's
said,
get the male perspective.
uh,
Yay.
I agree with everything. One of the things I was gonna say though, because in the space of thinking about growth, is I don't think we take inventory of ourselves. And what I mean by that is so I'm ex-military too, and I treat my life like that. So when I get done, like when I get done with things that I do on a daily, I look back and be like, all right, what was good about that? What was wrong about that? Sometimes we don't know it's a space we need to grow in because we don't see wrong in our own actions. So even though a situation like 5 relationships could go down the drain, and each time we'd be like, but I wasn't the problem. It's like if you took time to look at yourself, could you say, okay, I could have communicated this better, or maybe I could have done this better. And as you do that, you improve yourself. And like Coach Heather and Coach Sharita said, the frequency of yourself rises. We forget, or we don't often look at the fact that the world is 90% spiritual, 10% physical. The spirit itself has a frequency. So as you heal yourself and you work on yourself, your frequency allows you to meet another person who has done those same self evaluations with themselves. So when you meet that person, you meet a person who is you meet a partner, not a companion. I look at it in that space because a person who takes what you say, like if you speak to a person and say, hey, this is my issue, a person who is healed says, okay, cool, I heard what you said, let me fix it, let me work on it. The other person hears it and say, but I've always been like that. That's the sign to escape your situation right now, because they're not willing to compromise and become a better person for you, to be the partnership, to be the partner that you need. But that's it.
Oh my gosh, Coach John, come on now with that. Come on. You couldn't
Yeah,
have
we,
said it
we
any
can end the
better.
live right now.
I mean, like, come on. And it's so interesting. I love that perspective because there's been times when, and I don't know about anybody else, or if there's anybody in the audience that is listening, that you find yourself in a situation where you do outgrow your partner, and then you don't know how to deal with those feelings that it creates in you when you know that you have truly outgrown your partner, and there's a line that's been drawn in the sand that says, this is where I'm at, this is where I'm not, I have no intentions of going any further. And to love that person and to, you know, accept, fully accept that, and respect them for their position and their decision for their lives. And to say, you know what, I'm going to have to make, you know, a decision that's going to be in my best interest, you know. So I, you know, for those that are listening, be encouraged that it is tough. It is a hard decision to make, but it, you know, if you feel that that's the decision that you have after prayer, you know, definitely be prayerful about that, because, you know, marriage is a serious commitment. You know, it's you go before God, you know, when you do that. But what the point that you know, you do make that decision, you know, it needs to be that, okay, this is what I'm going to have to do. So don't be afraid to make the decision, because it is scary. So it is a scary decision, but don't be too afraid to make the decision for what's in your best interest.
Absolutely. Thank you, Coach Heather. I think that can take us into our next question. How important is it for you as a single parent to maintain your standards while building healthy boundaries? Anybody can add to it or
There
answer
was a
the
lot of
question.
words. Let's read it one more time, Coach Sheree. It's a lot of
Okay.
words.
How important is it for you as a single parent to maintain your standards while building healthy relationships or healthy boundaries? You know, when you're dating, when it's a potential partner.
Well, I'm not a single parent. I'm gonna say that again. But in my honest belief, I think it's important. I feel like if you set a standard and you set a boundary, a person who respects you agrees to that boundary that you set. Um, and it's just simple as that. The boundary itself is not only a form of protection, but it's a form of, it's just respect and reciprocation. If I tell a person, or if a woman tells me that these are the things that I abide by, if I care for you in the way that I say I care for you, then that's not a complaint for me. Like it's an understanding. If anything, it makes me a better person. Because what if I lack a discipline in my own space? That allows me to build discipline, because it's like, you know what? If she likes me enough but loves herself enough to set a boundary, that means that this is a person that I wouldn't mind partnering with. To not have a standard, to not have a boundary, where it makes you free. Biblically, it makes you like water. And it's like there's no foundation in water. It just goes and it flows. And it's like that's a dangerous space to be in. Like the foundation is what allows you to have some type of concrete foundation, which says if all else fails, this here stands true. And I think that's important in dating, because you have to have, like you would play hide and seek as a kid, like you have to have a space that you can come back to and say, this is the base of all things. This is what we come back to, because I have to make sure this is guarded.
And thinking about the word boundaries, I know that for me, that wasn't anything that was instilled in me as a youth. It wasn't part of what it wasn't the part of the belief system. And with my parents, you know, or my parents' parents, um, it was a it was almost a puff of smoke, you know. So when coming into this space now, where we are, and we're using that in our language, boundaries, you know, 10 toes down, being confident in your, you know, in your decision, um, acknowledging self, acknowledging your own feelings, and first starting to with respecting yourself, and then only through respecting yourself can you expect others to respect you. This is still new territory for me, surprisingly. You know, that was not something that was instilled in me in my youth, and so building that up now, and then reinforcing that in my parenting with my adult children, is something that I really appreciate learning at this point, because it's never too late to learn. So if it's something that you don't know, if you do not understand the concept of boundaries, if you do not understand the concept of self-respect and self-love, take the time to do that work. And just because you didn't learn it in your youth doesn't mean you can't reteach yourself. Just because it wasn't taught to you, instilled in you, doesn't mean you can't take the time to reparent yourself. Because sometimes as adults, we have to take the time to reparent ourselves. So if you need to create space, a safe space for yourself, and parent yourself and heal yourself and love on yourself and show grace to yourself, then do those things, because that's really going to be an important part of your healing process, so that you can get to the point where you are willing to step out again and find love, as Coach Tora has. It's a very important step in the road.
Absolutely, I agree. I do agree. Coach Torres, since you are dating, how has that been for you maintaining your standards and building or creating healthy boundaries?
Um, Honestly, it's been easy. My yes is my yes and my no is my no. And I'm not afraid of missing out. So if I put it out there and if you go against it, I don't have a problem with, you know. I'm not afraid to move my feet. So um
Absolutely, I agree.
and again, being in a different space where I've healed and I'm attracting better people, it's been easy because now I'm attracting people that have boundaries as well. So they're mutual, they're respected.
I love that. I love that. I love that. Anybody else want to piggyback off that question on maintaining your standards and building healthy boundaries? Now we'll move right along. So, what's been the toughest hurdle you faced while dating, as a single parent or just dating, and how did you push through to the other side?
Ooh, I got that one.
Okay.
The biggest hurdle, the biggest hurdle, honestly, is finding someone who's not just compatible but suitable. You're gonna be compatible with anybody that you meet, but when it comes to suitability and being married, everybody get X'd out immediately. That's it. Just finding somebody that's suitable. Because some of them are compatible, again, you know what I'm saying, to be
Mhm,
partners, even
mhm.
for right now. But I think when you get into suitability, I'm not talking about just right now. I mean, for my future, for my kids, for everything as a whole.
I know said. Anybody else? Whew, that's that's a lot. That's a lot right there. Suitability. And then, like, for someone who, what advice would you give to someone who does have that same mindset as you do? You know, someone that's suitable, and then they keep running into people that are not suitable, and they become discouraged. What advice
They
would
need to
you
do
all
more
give to
self work. You have to do more self work. It requires them to do more self work. If you're
them?
continuing to go through the same lesson, it's the why that means you hadn't passed the test. So that means you need to tap in,
Hmm.
use a little bit more discernment or whatever it is, do a little bit more work to break the cycle, even if it's just preference. Sometimes it can be your preference. You typically don't like light skin, go the opposite direction. Changes everything. So the simplest thing could get you out of that cycle of, you know, same person, different body.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because
And there's
sometimes
and
you go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think we have to talk about the process of and the difference between awareness and acknowledgement. Awareness is okay, I know that I have some areas that I need to grow in. I have some, the
Mhm.
acknowledgement is to say, you know what, these areas that I'm struggling with are setting me back in ABC areas. And so as a result, I need to actually be active in healing, acknowledging, changing, going to therapy. You know, there's a difference between awareness and acknowledgement. Awareness is just something that you have in your head. Acknowledgement leads to action. And if you're not willing to move to the space of acknowledgement that is going to get you to action, then you have to definitely take a deeper dive into what's going on. And the same for the people, who you're attracting around you. If you can sit there and have a conversation and you're believing, like, okay, we say we're like-minded on this panel, correct? We're like-minded. We have sit here and have
Mhm.
these conversations where we're talking the same language, we're saying the same thing. But if we go away from this space and we have not done something with that awareness, if we have not put that into action, then we're just having a conversation. We're just moving our lips. We're not making any impact on the world. We're not, going to the next person that we see struggling and saying, "Hey, brother, hey, sister, I recognize some things. You know, you want to can we sit down and talk? Maybe we can. Maybe there's some things we can talk through. I can, you know, be that mirror for one another. Because sometimes our vision can be foggy, but sometimes it takes someone that sees you struggling and sees you, you know, um, trying to get through that threshold, and they need a mirror so they can see themselves through your eyes. And it's okay to do that, to be there, to show up for one another, and to have someone be able to show up for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. Anyone else want to piggyback off of that? John, you know I'm always pick on you. Can we get a male's perspective?
Sure. Break it down. What is it again? Exactly.
Like the toughest hurdle you faced while in your case just dating. And how did you push through to the other side?
The toughest hurdle I face personally is myself. I'll be honest. Um, I'll be honest. Man, I am my toughest hurdle in dating, or I have been, or I was prior to recently, and it's because we're speaking about healing and doing the work personally. Um, I'll be super transparent, man. I've dealt with things such as like abandonment issues in my life. So in my dating space, it's like, man, now I've dated people, and it's like any sign that reminds me of a sign of something that bothered me as an adolescent is like abandonment. So now, me being me, I was always a person who was like, I'll leave before you leave me. So it's like, how do I even see a dating opportunity through if I'm too afraid to commit myself to the space? So like Coach Heather said, it's awareness and acknowledgement. Man, I'm an extremely aware individual. That's something that was never an issue in my life. I had to acknowledge my problems and address them. And once I acknowledged them, addressed them, and worked through them, man, dating for me is like any other thing. It's like riding a bike. It's and going back to what Tora said. It's compatibility and suitability. Man, I'll be honest. My friends, my brothers, and I speak about them. How I speak about them. We don't date the same. If we were all in a room, they'll tell you straight up that was like John dates differently. I can go see somebody and it's this. It's like John want a person that's this, that's this. It's like, man, in reality, I want myself. I want a reflection. I've done the work. And it's like I feel it's unfair to date a person who has not done the work. I think it's unfair to I don't want to say stoop, but I think it's unfair to sit at a level that you've at when I've already graduated from that space. However, I'm not against being with a person who is not on that space if that person is open to growing. However, the growing has to come because they won't grow, not because they want me. That's the thing. Like people do have a tendency to go into spaces because they want the other person. But if it doesn't work out with that person, do you stop the growth in that process? And I think that's unfair. That's all the way down to religion. As a minister, I've seen people say, "I'm gonna come to church," and I'm like, "I hope you coming for God, because I'm everywhere I am when I go. Like, don't come to church for me. Like, come to church because you want to hear the word. Because if I ever make you mad as an individual, you gonna turn down God because of me. That ain't what this. That's not what it is for me. So acknowledgement and addressment is what it.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, that is so good. Like, see, that's why I call on you, John. We need your perspective. Anybody else want to piggyback off of that?
But to his point of abandonment and the
Mm,
preferences and how we date, I truly believe a lot of people should be in therapy and not dating because they don't. It goes back to that awareness. They know, they're aware that there's an issue, there's a problem, and they'll. I've had somebody tell me, "Well, that's just the way I am." Huh? So you're telling me that you know that that behavior is hurtful, but you're going to rest and abide in that, and that's where you're going to stay. No, that's not okay. So you're
Mhm.
aware that that's wrong, but you're not willing to do the work to get past that, and you want people to excuse your bad behavior. So a lot of people shouldn't be dating. They should be in therapy. They really should. For some people, the work is in therapy, and for those of us who are willing to do the work on our own, we're gonna pray, we're gonna fast, we're gonna get in there, we're gonna do the self awareness, we're gonna talk to ourselves, we're gonna speak the affirmations, we're gonna get in that word, and we're gonna apply that word to our lives. It's like she said, acknowledgement and awareness. It's like wisdom and knowledge. You can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you don't have wisdom to use that knowledge, then it's useless. That's all, because I'm gonna get y'all off track.
I want to speak to that because it's a conversation that I have often. Man, a lot of people look for wholeness in other people when they got to find completeness in themselves first. Like
Come
you,
on, speak that. Go
like you
ahead.
can't
Keep.
even date a
I'm gonna
person.
get myself.
Like you can't even date a person successfully because the happiness and the things that the voids that you're trying to fill, you're trying to use them to fill them. When you got to fill them within yourself first, like that's a real thing. That's something I've learned in dating. I learned, man, I've learned that I don't like people who, and I don't say like people, but codependency is a thing that doesn't work well for me because it's like, man, I'm codependent, but I'm codependent with God. Like it's gonna be a day where I don't show up as the complete version of myself that you need, and what happens then? Like, and that goes back to the space of therapy. It's like when you are aware and you don't acknowledge those spaces, it's like you're dependent on me or you're counting on me. It's like, man, I'm here to be a helper. I'm here to be a partner, but I'm not here to be your fix all. Like, that's not what it's supposed to be.
And to that point, you hear people saying that they complete me. They complete me. That's my better half. And I used to say that. No, because I'm a whole. So that's not my half. That is the person that is supposed to compliment me and make my life better. I'm not supposed to be so dependent on that person, like you said, that if that person moves, I got to move just like them. It shouldn't be like that. We're one, but there's two people coming together with two different minds, two different thought processes, and we need to be praying through those things. But you're absolutely right.
And I love that. I love the concept of complete or versus complement. You know, um, with if we go into a situation, if we go into a dating space looking to be completed, then we're already behind the eight ball. We're already set up for failure. You know, and that also is an indication of work that still needs to be done on your by yourself. So that's definitely a lesson for that I took away from myself, is that I still have work to do when I went into my dating space. I still had work to do, self work to do. And so um, coming out of that space after a number of years, do, doing work in that space, but recognizing how much work I still had to do before I was even ready to go into that space. And also recognizing the impact that my decision to go into that space before I was ready had on my children. And now having to, reconcile those relationships as a result of my choice because I went in too fast. I wasn't ready, Kevin Hart, I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready, and and realizing that I took in tow, precious cargo that were impacted that didn't have to be impacted because I went in prematurely. So that's another thing that I think needs to be said in this discussion is yeah, we want to encourage love and taking a chance, but we don't want to encourage doing that um, if we're potentially getting ready to set our precious cargo up for harm that they didn't have to go through for that.
Right. I want to piggyback off of the when you said the word prematurely and going into things because we don't like to eat raw food. So why would we go into a situation where you go out and prematurely grab something, a blessing, That's what some people say. Like you said, Coach Shalita, um, I've heard people say that, you complete me, or he completes me, or she completes me. How? When you're supposed to be whole. These are people who say they have a relationship with God. And so there's a big difference between compliment and complete. You want to be whole before you meet someone, because me personally, I know what that's like to go out and get something prematurely. I know how to be that premature person. I've been that person. Like, I wasn't ready for that. So yes, when you said premature, that just it made me think about, like, we don't want to eat raw food. So why we want, our blessings to be premature, or anything that we desire going out of God's time and out of alignment. That's why it's so important to pray. And so, because I've done it several times, going out of alignment. I learned my lesson. Like Coach Torres say, I had to do the hard work. I had to do some things about myself, and still working on some things, so that I'm not in that space where everything that hurt me, or everyone that hurt me, I'm making that person pay for it. You don't want to do that, because then what if that person comes whole and you come halfway? How are y'all complimenting each other? How can you build with that person? How can you, show, like, for me, I come from divorce, from 7 to 13, watching parents, yeah, act up. That's for lack of better words. So for me, it's kind of like, coming from that background, seeing parents together, I've just realized, even talking to my children, like, I've never really seen my parents show each other love. Like, I never seen them give each other hugs. It was always a routine. Or you do this or you do that. And so it's like, I knew I didn't want that, but I didn't know how to ask, someone how to get that. My grandparents seemingly had it, but then I learned at 20, he had an outside kid, the deacon of the church. Are you serious? Like, really? So then that gives you a false perspective of who God is. So I wanted to know who God was for myself, so that anything that I desire, especially marriage, I wanted to make sure that that followed in, you know, fell in alignment with His word. But I had to go through these processes in order to learn it. Because my mother used to say, "Well, were you the child that took the scenic route?" I'm glad I did, because that's how I got to God. That's how I was able to understand what it's like, to see the difference in someone saying that they love me, or saying that they're going to do something, and actually seeing them follow through with it. Big difference. Sometimes it depends on a person's background. That's why you got to ask questions. You got to ask, okay, so what, your mama, your parents together, or were your grandparents together? What were these things that you have to ask those questions? And if somebody is shying away from that, then that's not the person for you. They don't want to get to know you, because you got to ask questions. I had a guy to tell me, take your life coach hat off. Nope, I'm going to keep it on. This is who I am. I'm asking you a question. I'm inquisitive. I need to know. I know what my background is. I know what my history is. I know what I've dealt with. I know what the generational cycles are in my life, in my family. And I want to be the cycle breaker. I am the cycle breaker. So I'm not going to have my kids dealing with those same things as they go on in life. They need to see, okay, mama looked at that situation. She healed from it. So now that I'm dealing with it, I do have that person I can go to. Some people just don't have somebody that they can go to. So it's good to ask those questions to find out, what people backgrounds are, what their process is, what their mindset is. Did anybody else have anything to piggyback off on that question?
I did want to piggyback just off of the statement that you made when you said the person you were talking to said, take your life coach hat off.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that stuck out for me when we were having one of our Say Life classes in doing our practice with Coach John, is I got an opportunity to express how lonely this process can be. When you are trying to break generational curses, when you are trying to break habits that are been instilled in you and change and undo. Like you said, Coach Sheree, you grew up, watching your parents behave the way they did, which as a young child, that imprints something in your mind about what relationships look like. And so a lot of us can say, hey, I've gleaned from what relationships look like or what I don't want in a relationship based on what we experienced in our childhood. So some people take that in from take away from that situation and say, "Oh, I don't want that for me." Others like gravitate to it and say, "Oh, this is what their understanding is. This is what it looks like." So it's scary when you are taking a stand on your own, developing new tools that were not instilled in you, and saying, "Okay, I'm going to do something different." And so, you know, one of the things that Coach John said is, "Hey, some of the greatest characters in the Bible had to move alone. Moses, Joseph, Daniel, they had to move alone." And so sometimes if somebody is making you feel ashamed for moving differently than the way they're moving, and they want you to assimilate or lay down and bow down and just be okay and be cool with the way the energy that they're bringing, that low vibration energy that they're bringing, you're going to have to be brave enough to say, no, on this one, I'm going to have to stand alone. I'm going to have to stand alone.
Absolutely, absolutely, I agree. That kind of goes ties into the next question I have. What are your must-haves and your deal breakers when it comes to finding a partner who respects your journey as a single parent or your journey just as who you are?
God first.
Absolutely. Any deal breakers?
God, not first.
Exactly, exactly. I would also have to say honesty and communication, you know, um, transparency, the willingness to change, willingness to understand who they are, being self aware, and then understanding for me as a single parent, I need you to understand what my family dynamic looks like, how busy I am. If I give you my time, value it. It's a difference in saying something and then not following through with it. It's a difference in saying, okay, I'm going to do it. I do have this issue, but I'm working on it. How old are you again? So for me, I'm like, how old are you? Like, are we in our 40s and our 50s? Are we really? And we're still saying that, well, yeah, I'm working on it. You know what? I have a son. I'm raising a son already. I don't need to raise somebody else's child. I'm just giving it to you real. That's how I feel when I'm hearing stuff like that. Okay, you know what? I get up at 5:30 in the morning. This is my schedule. I take kids to school by 7:15. I'm working by 7:30. I am picking them up by 4. One has practice, one is an internship, picking them up by 5:30. If I give you 10 minutes of my time, please make it worth the while. Ask the questions to get to know a person. I'm not saying what's my favorite color because you'll learn that eventually. How do I deal with rejection? Was I abandoned as a child?
Ooh, how do they
Yeah,
deal with anger? How do they
anger.
act when they get angry?
Yes,
That's a
when things
big
don't
one.
go your way, how do
That
you respond?
that's right. Are
You
you gonna
know,
throw something at me? Are you gonna curse me out and call me anything but a child of God? Do, are you
yep, because
impatient
you do.
when I don't move as fast as you do, or I move faster than you
Mhm,
do? Are
mhm.
you mad because I want to be on time and you don't care about time? Are you gonna
Exactly,
start
because
cussing me out and acting crazy? I'm
mhm,
about to
mhm,
WWE you. Like, I'm like, really? Do you love your mother?
mhm,
Do you honor your
mhm.
mother? Do you have sisters? Do you love and honor their sisters? Do you take care of your grandmother when she's sick? Your female cousins, your aunties, how do you treat them? All of that's important. All of that stuff is
Very
important. So
much
yeah,
so.
not only is my time valuable, but how are you gonna respond when you get angry? That's a big one for me. Because I'd have been called outside my name, and then you tell me you love me, but you don't like me. So but that ain't love, because love is patient, kind, is forgiving, is long suffering. That ain't love.
Right. Come on with the fruits of the spirit now. Come on now.
So, so not only do you not really
Charlita, get
love,
out of my head. Get out of my. I literally shared that in the prayer this morning, and I said, show us how to love the way you love, God. You know what I
Mhm,
mean? Let
mhm,
me be angry in love.
mhm.
Let me be hurt in love. Let me resent you in love, because these are real things that we deal with. Let me show grace and patience in
Yes.
love. Let me forgive in love. We can have these human experiences, but if they are not done in love, then we're going to be hurting, because hurt people hurt
people.
people.
Yep.
So if you don't truly understand that love chapter, and understand that even in your differences, you can have differences in love and operate in that. It's not just, oh, love God first, and that blanket. No, it's what is your awareness versus what is your acknowledgement. I have anger issues. And anger issues cause me to want to throw things. But because I know I have anger issues and I'm tempted to throw things, I have put myself in anger management classes. Or I've gone to therapy so I can tap into the source of my anger and I can work that process out, because what I don't want to do is put that on you, because I love you. You want somebody to love themselves enough to be a better version of themselves than they were yesterday. And through that
Exactly.
process, then they can show you love. Don't accept anything less.
Right. I do also believe that even once you do have communication, the one thing that I'm real big on is taking accountability. That's a big one for me. Being able to say, yeah, I did that. I'm sorry. Or yes, I said that. My bad. I didn't mean it that way. Because sometimes it's not our intentions, but our tone may say it. And so sometimes you may have to apologize for what you said, how you said it, but I didn't really mean it that way. It came out the wrong way. Instead of saying, well, you know what I meant by that. You took it the wrong way. Why are you projecting it onto me when you need to take accountability? It's really simple. But again, that piggybacks off of self-awareness too. So anybody else have any must-haves or deal breakers they want to talk about? I know we kind of went into some other things.
I was waiting for Coach Tora to weigh on in there.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, they calling you out, Coach Tora.
It's
I have deal
really
breakers.
because
I have
your
a
last
lot of
name
deal
is
breakers.
Love. It's really because your last name is Love, Coach Tora. Really, you should have a whole bunch of stuff to say about love
I
right now.
do. I do. Look, I'm working on book 12, so I definitely have a lot. But I think my biggest deal breaker for real is inconsistency. Yeah, I don't like inconsistency
Yeah,
at
let's talk
all.
about that. Elaborate on that.
Inconsistency,
Mm-hmm.
inconsistent calling, inconsistent texting, just all across the board. Inconsistent. You start, but you don't stop. You don't keep it up. You disturbing my peace, but you really don't
That,
want anything.
that's right. That's right. And then you ghost because you're inconsistent. And you're consistently
I do
inconsistent.
ghost. Yeah, I do the ghosting when they get
You do the ghost?
inconsistent because
Oh,
you
see,
ain't
oh,
finna play
see.
with my time.
Okay, see, I'm there. I'm there.
Look, you ain't finna
I'm
play in my
with you.
face two
No,
Did you
times.
and then
say
So
consistently inconsistent,
they're
Coach Tora?
consistently
yeah,
inconsistent. I can't stand them.
yeah, yeah.
Go play in traffic or something. I don't have the time. I, I,
Say, go, don't play with me. Go play with your
don't
mama,
play.
not
Go
me.
go play at the
Like,
track. I didn't want to say that, but that's why I
Somebody,
said go play in traffic.
yeah, because I ghost, I block, I delete, I look, pick up, don't see,
Uh-huh.
all that.
I'm good.
I signed up for that because
Look,
you're
we're
not
not
finna play in my
worthy.
face.
We're not worthy. She might come a girl and tell me. I'm like, You're not. We're not. We're not gonna do this.
Or
We're
I'll
not.
do one, like just blocking them or what have you. But I'll do one like I'll just leave it if they have an iPhone. I'll just leave it on red. They can see. I read it.
I read it.
Yeah, you can see that. I read it. Guess what? I'm not responding. You're not worth my time or energy. And then even in moments like that, where sometimes that may be a weak point for people. That was one for me. Sometimes I just say, you know what? I would speak affirmations over myself. What good is it going to do for you to respond to that person when you already know how they're gonna respond back? Why are you wasting your time, your energy, your efforts? Why? Oh well, because he you like the way he say your name, or you like the way he might call you and say sweet things. Girl, bye. No, no. That's that puppy love in middle school or high school. No, you know what I
So
had
they
to do
just
when I
gaslight,
right, right, and what I had to do when
gaslight.
what I had to do is I had to write down what I wanted in my person, and then I also had to write down the work I needed to do. What did I have those qualities too? And so I really had to sit down and say, okay, so this is my deal breaker. But what if this is that same person's deal breaker? How could I handle that if I carry that quality, or if I respond that way or I act like that? Like sometimes I'm loud. Some people don't like loud people. You know, we are loud over here. Sometimes we loud, but sometimes we so quiet and we just everybody in their own space. What if that person comes in and they loud? Hey, how y'all doing? Like, be quiet. Be quiet. But those are things. Even though it's simple, it can be a build up. And if you don't have the discussion about it, I always say one conversation can change the outcome of any situation. If you don't have a conversation and talk about things and be open and honest about it, and like Coach Torres said earlier, be willing to even let go if there's not something that you can deal with. That's you choosing you. That's you saying, okay, I have the audacity to keep choosing me every time. Every time. A person, and this is something that I always say to people, that even to myself, a person can be good, they can have a good heart, but they may not be the great person that God has for me. Because you can look at a rose and say, oh, it's beautiful. But then when you see a bouquet of roses, you're like, oh, that's gorgeous. So why go out there and get something, or why accept something that God didn't intend for you to have? So when those no's or those things, those deal breakers are more evident than the must haves, it's okay to let go. That's God's protection. That's what that is. And that's what I had to learn. Thank you, God, for protecting me. Because, baby, I only want to do marriage one time. I that's because of how horrible my parents' divorce was and how it had me moving all over, relocating, moving away from family. So it was hard for me to really adjust and adapt. But that made me who I am now. I can move anywhere. So, um, yeah, I like that. I know we are on our hour time. Do y'all want one more question, or do y'all want to do a comeback for a part two?
Is it just one more question, or is it multiple questions, or
Oh,
we like?
it's a couple. We still may have to come back for part two.
I don't know. I think
'Cause
it's a
there's so
part.
much to,
I think there's a part two.
yeah, because there's so much. We may even have another male that want to join us. Don't leave John out here by himself. But there's so many things to unveil when it comes to dating as a single parent, um, or just dating, period. And so if you haven't done the hard work, it's going to be challenging. It's hard enough just dating, but if you haven't done the hard work, it's going to be hard because you have to be strong enough to say no to things that don't serve or that are not purposeful in your life. Because we haven't even opened the door about how to deal with it when you're introducing a new partner to your children or talking to them about dating. Because what have they experienced with you as a single parent? Have they experienced other partners, living in partners? Have they experienced, any type of sexual abuse, mental abuse? We need to dive into that because it's important to have those discussions because their feelings matter. They didn't ask to come here. We got to take care of them. I know mine will say whatever's on their minds. I'll just be like, I'm going to go to my room. You know how you were growing up, your parents say, go to your room when you're in trouble. I'm going to my room. you know. So, but we will do one more question to wrap up um, tonight's live. So, what advice, coaches, would you give to a single parent who is ready to step back into the dating world? What should their approach look like? Or for anyone who is hesitant, you know, um, what are some of the red flags or behaviors that they should absolutely make as non-negotiable? That's kind of a two-part question. So the first question, I'll say, what advice would you give to someone who's ready to step into the dating world, but they're not hesitant, but they're just ready to step into the dating world and trying to figure out what their approach should look like?
I would say just making sure that they're healed and ready to be vulnerable and put in the work because it's work. It's lots of work. Being healed is the most important part. Yeah, because you can't function from that place at all without being healed. And again, if you're unhealed, you're gonna attract something that you don't want. So
That's good. Anyone else?
I think that Coach Tora definitely took the stage on that one, especially where she is right now, um, and she's living. We're talking about that dating, but she's living that life of being a single parent and dating, um, and so putting those things into practice. Again, it's wonderful to talk about these things, but to actually put them into practice and then yielding the outcome of putting those things into practice, I think is a testament to, your experience, Coach Tora. So thank you for sharing that.
and I want to add, don't get me wrong, there have been times when I did not want to do it again. I was over it. But my relationship with God and knowing what He put in me when it comes to relationship and marriage, um, He wouldn't let me give up. I'm not even gonna say it was me. God wouldn't let me give up on it because it's something that He wanted me to do. So I couldn't allow bad experiences to dictate, And I'm not gonna lie, the first two times I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't even want to. I got pregnant, so I got married. So to me, the third time was the only time that I feel I was really ready to get married. But the first two times, I was playing in God's face too. I knew nothing about marriage. So
Anybody else have a ooh, Coach Tora? That's all you leaving me speechless.
Listen, I have nothing else to say. I'm over here battling this personal summer, and I'm trying not to make it obvious. I can't say anything else because she made the personal summer even worse with that. It's like can't say anything else.
Yeah, like mic dropping. It's over with.
It's over. Good night. Go to bed. Good night. God bless you. I love you all.
Anyone else have any feedback or advice?
Nah, I just I agree with each and every one of y'all. Honestly, before stepping back into a space, knowing self is just important. Like she said, be healed. I also want to explain the fact that you should be patient because, like an athlete, you don't know you healed until you get back on the court. So you could be triggered extremely fast, and it's okay. Like knowing that about yourself, being aware of knowing that okay, I might not be as ready as I thought I was, but being patient. The right person will come into your life and be like I keep saying a helper instead of a hindrance. Man, the right person to
Mm,
hold your hand through the situation and be like, I see well, this is the situation for you. I am willing to be patient and go the distance compared to another person may want to rush you through it. Like Coach Sheree said earlier, man, some people really prey on you. It's like there is a chance that you will meet a person who will pray for you, PRAY, and it's like, bro, I'm gonna walk you through this, pray with you, and if God allows me, we can get to a deeper space. But then there are people who will take advantage of you, and it's like you have to be mindful of who those people are. So patience is important while you are learning if you're ready or if you're not.
Thank you,
absolutely.
Coach John. Thank you, Coach John. Let's drop the mic for tonight.
Yes, yes. Oh my goodness. Well, it has been a pleasure, ladies and gentlemen. So, thank you all for joining us on tonight. Thank you for those who stayed on. I do appreciate it. So, coaches, tell the audience where they can reach you if they want to follow you or reach out to you for some services.
Well, for me, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, anything Tora Love, Google Tora Love, and ta-da!
Okay,
On Instagram, The Life Virgin, because that's my podcast. And I'm on TikTok as The Life Virgin. And I think on my Facebook, I might just be my name. I'm not really sure. But if they want to reach out for divorce coaching or just encouragement and mindset, that's where they can find me.
absolutely, absolutely.
Right now, I'm only operating through my email. So if someone wants to email me for life coaching services, as I'm still, working my Say Life process and launching my business and my services, but you can reach out to me, Heather Carpenter 04 at gmail.com, and I will be more than happy to respond.
Awesome, awesome.
I'm on Facebook at John Griggs. That's about it. I don't really use social media too much outside of that.
Okay. Well, it's been a pleasure. So, tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to say good night. And until next time, we will see you next Thursday. Bye for now.
Good night.